Okay, so recently there's been a lot of news on the Avengers. Thunderbolts changed their title to the New Avengers, which, I mean, alright. And the two upcoming Avengers movies, Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, were both delayed to December of 2026 and 2027, which slightly worries me, but I mean, we'll see what happens. And so, all this Avengers stuff kind of got me thinking about the good old days, so I decided to go back and rewatch all the Avengers movies in release order to see if they're as good as I remember. And I gotta say, a few of these movies are a lot worse than I remember. I'm also going to be ranking these movies amongst each other just for fun, and since Thunderbolts is now technically an Avengers movie, it's the first one on the list. I have a whole video talking about this movie, so if you want to know my thoughts on it, a link will be in the description. Anyways, on to the actual Avengers movies. Spoilers, I guess. I don't know. These movies are old. I think it should be. Yeah, it's fine. I know this isn't the film that started it all, but I'm not going to lie, it kind of feels that way. At least for me, The Avengers was the film that truly got me into the MCU all the way back in 2012. And to be honest, yeah, this shit's really good. This film shocked me with just how comic booky it is. Everything from the dialogue to the way it's shot just screams that this is a comic book film. And I feel like we don't really get that anymore, which kind of sucks. I didn't realize how much I missed that until now. I think that's a really big reason why I'm so excited for Fantastic Four and Superman. Apart from loving those characters to death, they just kind of give off that vibe, you know? It knows what it is and it's not trying to be anything else. At least I think. I'm definitely speaking too soon. But of course, the X factor of this and every other Avengers movie is the cast. These guys are pretty much in every other movie, so I'm only gonna really talk about them once. But shit, man, I feel like we don't appreciate enough just how perfect the casting was for every single one of these characters. Seeing everyone meet each other for the first time all over again was really nostalgic. It was kind of weird, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like I've spent so much time with these variations of their respective characters throughout the years that seeing them almost reset right in front of me was kind of surreal and a pretty cool experience. Tony is cockier and douchier than ever. Seeing Cap fresh out of the ice is both hilarious and very interesting when you notice little details like Nick Fury giving him paper files instead of their, you know, little hologram thingy. Pre-Ragnarok Thor is a lot more serious and intimidating, but he's still funny and charismatic when appropriate. You know, how it should be. Natasha and Clint's relationship and banter is as fun to watch as ever. The Hulk was so good, bro. God damn it. I also forgot how good Tom Hiddleston's Loki was as the main antagonist for this movie. I definitely like what they did with him now a lot more than what his role was in this movie. And I think they could have found more ways to show off Loki's abilities, but other than that, he's pretty solid. All in all, this film aged really well, and if you haven't watched this movie since like, I don't know, Endgame or something like that, I highly recommend you rewatch this. You'll probably find it to be a lot better than you remember. Anyways, I'm gonna give this like a 9 out of 10. Really strong start. I'm kind of shocked, I'm not gonna lie. And it is easily better than the New Avengers. Okay, remember when I said some of these movies are a lot worse than I remember? Yeah, this is one of them. For context, I used to like this movie. It came out back in 2015, so I was pretty young, and I was just happy to see Ultron, Wanda, and Pietro. Especially Pietro, because a little fun fact about me is I fucking love speedsters. So seeing one in the MCU for the first time probably made my soul jump out of my body and straight into my pants. I think you know where I'm gonna go with this. But this movie is far from being all bad. For starters, I think this film has the best opening sequence out of any other Avengers film. And that's due to the fact that I think this film does what I like to call team fight shots really well. This slow-mo shot in the opening sequence and the slow-mo shot during the church fight are some of the coolest shots in the entire MCU in my opinion. Unfortunately, it's close to impossible for any movie to top anything the next two Avengers movies did when it comes to team fight scenes, purely because of the skill at which everything was done. But hey, this movie still gets an A-. This movie also nails what is now known as MCU humor. In recent films, this is heavily overdone, but in Age of Ultron, I thought they did a really good job at including genuinely funny and memorable bits in the movie, such as language, all the stuff with Thor's hammer, and my personal favorite,
boom, you looking for this?
I personally found all of these to be really funny, and it's a great showcase of how MCU humor should be done. And lastly, I want to make it very clear that I really like Elizabeth Olsen's portrayal of Wanda. I think she does a great job in this film, and even in god-awful ones like Multiverse of Madness. I personally found her to be the only good thing in that movie. Also, is it just me, or did they like heavily reel back her accent in later movies? I don't know, I feel like it's a lot more distinct in this one. But I might be going crazy. But alright, I already mentioned him, so I'm gonna just get this out of the way. What the fuck, guys? I'm being serious when I say this is probably like my third time watching this movie ever, so I'm just now realizing how dirty they did my guy Pietro. What really wrinkles my balls is that they showed this man dealing with bullets like it's nothing so many times in this film, and the way you decide to take him out is with bullets. I mean, I'm lost for words. That is just so dumb. On so many levels. I don't care if he was fatigued. Drop like a building on him. I don't fucking know. Just anything is better than bullets. Are we kidding? I don't get why they did this. Quicksilver's such a cool character, and now he just looks like a clown. Even more so with all the Ralph Boner bullshit. Maybe they give him some redemption in Doomsday and Secret Wars since they're bringing a lot of people back. But to be honest, I think all this just happened because they didn't want to deal with speedsters. So yeah, I don't know. I'm tight. Last but not least, we got Ultron. I think he sucks balls. I assume most people will agree with the stuff I said about Pietro, but for Ultron, I'm actually not sure what the general audience thinks of him. But I personally didn't find him to be intimidating at all, which if you know anything about Ultron's character, you would know that is a pretty big issue. A lot of it has to do with the way he acts. I don't like how he's all chummy and shit. Why the fuck are you smiling? Hell, why do you have teeth in the first place? It's disgusting. Ultron kind of needs to be cold and calculated. You gotta believe that this thing will not stop at anything to exterminate all of mankind. In this instance, they definitely fail at making you feel this way. And it doesn't help that he looks stupid. Again, why does he have teeth? I don't like his eyes. And when he gets his vibranium upgrade, he just looks dumb as fuck. Look at him. This is hideous. Overall, this movie is a lot worse than I remember. There's still some good stuff in this movie. I wouldn't go as far to say it's bad because, I mean, it is entertaining for the most part, but I'm definitely not a fan of it. 6.5 out of 10. This is going in dead last. Alright, spoiler alert, I don't have much to say about this movie other than the fact that it is perfect. This movie is the sole reason why I think everyone should put themselves through the torment of watching every single mainline MCU project. Even through some of the bullshit, because I truly think this film is special. This movie has so many characters, so many things taking place all at the same time, and it has every reason to be a huge clusterfuck of a movie. And somehow, it's not. I genuinely have no idea how they did it, but they actually managed to balance out everything and everyone almost perfectly. I say almost because I can see how some people may find this movie to be a little fast-paced, but if you ask me personally, I think it's perfect just the way it is. Seeing characters like Doctor Strange and Tony, two very similar characters in terms of being cocky assholes, interact is an absolute blast in and of itself. But then you add Spidey and then you add the Guardians, it's just so much fun. The battle in Wakanda is still one of the coolest things I've ever seen in my entire life. Thanos is obviously great, the CGI is fantastic, everyone's use of their abilities like Doctor Strange using all these different spells, Iron Man's nanotech, Thor's arrival at Wakanda, and even the small things like Cap and T'Challa outrunning everyone while charging into the front lines. I'm being serious, I could probably compliment everything this movie does. I bet you probably don't want to hear that. This film is the culmination of 10 years worth of projects, and it's so perfect to the point that it scares me. Avengers Doomsday is supposed to compete with this. Secret Wars is supposed to compete with this. I don't see a world where they even remotely come close to topping this movie. The MCU spent 10 years building up Thanos and all the other Avengers, and right now we don't even know what Doctor Doom is going to look like. And let me remind you, there is nothing after Fantastic Four. This is all we're getting before Doomsday. Granted, if there is a movie for them to introduce Doctor Doom, it would be this one. But they're also doing Galactus, so I don't know. Anyway, this somehow turned into a Doomsday rant, I'm sorry. Infinity War is the best MCU project there is. The only thing that can compete with it is X-Men 97. 10 out of 10, it's better than everything on here. Okay, let me get this out of the way real quick. The last 30-ish minutes of this movie are an 11 out of 10. The portal scene is so iconic, everyone's suits are top-notch, except the Iron Spider suit. I will forever shit on that suit. Thanos in this movie is a lot less quote-unquote misunderstood. He kind of just wants to throw hands and get the stones, which I liked a lot. And of course, the send-off to Tony's character is beautiful, and I wouldn't change a thing about it. But, is it just me, or is everything else kind of like, you know, like mid? I know there's a lot of Endgame naysayers out there, but I also know there's just as much Endgame defenders out there that are gonna try to rip my head off for saying this. But this movie drags on for so long, and I think it's even worse on rewatch. And I'll be the first person to admit that I am not the brightest cookie in the cookie jar. But all this time travel shit makes zero fucking sense whatsoever. In the film, they explain that if you go back in time, a new reality is created. And so, the characters created new timelines when they went back in time. But it didn't affect the main timeline. And that's how they can do shit like knock Star-Lord out during what's supposed to be the opening scene of Guardians 1. But then if that's the case, how is old Steve in this timeline if he went back in time to be with Peggy? Wouldn't that mean he'd be in another timeline? And more importantly, does that mean he played tonsil hockey with his niece? If you just take a step back and think about everything going on with the time travel stuff, there's a lot of stuff that straight up just doesn't make any sense. This is also the case when they're not time traveling. For example, when Captain Marvel is trying to get to Scott's van during the final battle. She has no pin particles, no GPS, no time travel suit, nothing. So what was the game plan? Just go somewhere? Wherever? Whenever? She wouldn't know how to get back. She'd just be stuck there with the Infinity Stones, which in theory would destroy a bunch of timelines, but alright. Or in the beginning of the movie when Thanos destroys the Infinity Stones. But they later explained that the Infinity Stones make up what we perceive as time, so why did destroying them have no effect on the main timeline? And of course, I think most people are aware that the real hero in this movie is this big-ass rat. This film is just a mess, and I feel like a lot of people look at it through rose-tinted glasses just because they really like the portal scene, or because, well, it's Endgame. And obviously that's totally fine. When this movie released, it was like a national holiday. I myself never wanted to even think about the flaws this movie could possibly have. And I understand that a lot of my critiques could be considered nitpicks. Overall, I still love this movie for what it stands for. Like I said, it's Endgame. It's impossible to hate this movie. But even then, I gotta be real, this movie has a lot of problems. I'm giving it a 7 out of 10, and yes, it's going under the new Avengers. I'm sorry, Endgame fans, please don't hate me. Alright, here's the final list. You know what? I actually don't know if people are going to be mad at me for this, so we'll see. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, check out some of my other videos. I think I have a few in there that are worth watching. Let me know what your favorite Avengers movie is in the comments, and what do you think is the best MCU project of all time? Anyway, thanks again, and I'll see you soon.